One player's debut brought the NFL into the limelight, while another's career was so dominant it seemed like he was from another planet. And it's beyond imagination that a player could lead the league in rushing, receiving, and passing. These are the best NFL players from every decade. 1920s Red Grange. Red Grange is the greatest name you've never heard of. Without Red, there's no Odell or Brady or Mahomes. In fact, there's no NFL at all. When he signed with the Chicago Bears, it made the NFL official. Before then, it was just an afterthought to the college game without any real money to be made. Grange is the pioneer home run threat, breaking 80-yard runs that would make Barry Sanders blush. Nicknamed the Galloping Ghost, Grange was clearly the best athlete on every field at the time. He blew past defenders and made elusive cuts in and out of tacklers. In a game that was more rugby than modern-day football, Grange's flair brought crowds in droves. Over 40,000 people came to see his pro debut with the Bears. He eventually founded the New York Yankees and would join the NFL as well. The rest of this list has Red Grange to thank, a trailblazer that forever legitimized the professional game of football. 1930s Don Hutson. If football fans, historians, and analysts can avoid recency bias, most of us can agree that he was a top 10 all-time player. Hutson had a huge impact on the growing game of football. Hutson spent his entire career with the Green Bay Packers, which spanned from 1935 to 1945. He excelled in more than one position as a wide receiver and as a defensive back. Moreover, Hutson led the NFL in receptions every year from 1941 to 1945 and in receiving yards 4 times during the 40s decade. He also led the league in receiving touchdowns 5 times. Hutson also led the NFL with 6 interceptions during the 1940 season. Yet, his greatest accomplishment of the decade was leading the Packers to the 1944 NFL championship. No one single-handedly dominated an entire decade as much as Hutson. This guy especially belongs on the NFL's Mount Rushmore of receivers. 1940s Sammy Baugh. Sammy Baugh is our first quarterback on the list, and for good reason. He was just as rare a quarterback as his number 33 looked in the pocket. As a rookie, he revolutionized the league, breaking the completion record and leading the league with 1,127 yards passing. In the 1937 NFL championship game, he threw for a 60-year rookie playoff record of 335 yards to beat the Chicago Bears. In the 40s, he and the Washington Redskins would meet the Bears 3 straight times in the championship. After 2 lopsided losses in 1942, Baugh captained the Redskins to an upset. In the game, he threw a touchdown and had an 85-yard punt. But in 1943, Sammy Baugh put together the stuff of legend. He was the league's best passer, punter, and defensive back, intercepting 11 passes throughout the year. In one game, Baugh threw for 4 touchdowns on offense and intercepted 4 on defense. He looked like that big hit on the playground just bullying the other kids. Baugh was a 2-time MVP and led the league in passing 6 times. He weaponized the quarterback position, retired the greatest punter to date, and broke many records as a defensive back. There's no question about it, Baugh was just built differently. 1950s Otto Graham. While Baugh was the best NFL QB in the 40s, Otto Graham was dominating the AAFL with the Cleveland Browns. When they joined the NFL, it was much of the same. In their debut season, they cruised to an NFL championship against the Los Angeles Rams. It took 298 passing yards, 99 running, and a clutch game-winning drive from Otto to win the 1950 NFL championship. In 1951, Graham didn't set any personal highs, but was named MVP when he captained the Browns to a 2nd straight NFL championship. Where the Rams ended up getting their revenge, you think Brady's a winner. In Otto Graham's 10 years, 4 in the AFL and 6 NFL seasons, he quarterbacked the Browns to a championship game in every season. His 81% win percentage is miles better than any player ever. It wasn't like they were some primitive passing team either. Graham still holds the all-time record of yards per attempt. Despite another MVP season, a 3rd straight championship loss came in 1953, in what he thought would be his last season. Otto Graham shouldered the pressure for the Browns, helping hoist his 2nd NFL title in a blowout win, where he threw for 3 touchdowns and ran for 3 more. He retired until the Browns owner convinced him with the biggest contract ever to play 1 more season. And what did Otto do? Well, he won MVP and a 3rd NFL title, 7th overall, I mean, that's just ridiculous. 1960s Jim Brown. You wouldn't know it with how they've been in recent history, but the best player of the 60s was also a Cleveland Brown. We know you get happy when your fantasy running back runs for 100 yards. Well, what if your running back averaged 100 a game for his entire career? Brown is still the only player to do so. Jim Brown was as nimble as anyone, but his game was anything but elusive. It was all about blinding speed and physicality. He hurt would-be tacklers, tortured defenders in between the tackles, and torched them in the open field. When he entered the league, the all-time rusher had 4,120 yards. Brown broke it in 4 years and retired at 12,000 rushing yards. He's over 5,000 more than the next guy. Almost 60 years later, Brown is still among the greatest, 11th of all time. Just to show how dominant he really was, in 12-game seasons and only 9 years in the NFL, he's still 6th in rushing touchdowns all time. Jim Brown was by far the best player of the 60s, and maybe ever. 1970s Joe Green. Just look at Joe Green's team accomplishments, individual accolades, and the way he took over games on his own, and it's easy to see why he is our choice. Green won the 1972 and 1974 Defensive Player of the Year awards, making him the only player to win that honor twice in the decade. Teammates Mel Blount and Jack Lambert each won it once. The hulking 6'4", 275-pound defensive tackle led the Steelers to 4 Super Bowl championships, becoming the first dynasty in the Lombardi Trophy era. Green was also a 5-time First-Team All-Pro and a 3-time Second-Team All-Pro. That's right, 8 All-Pro and 9 Pro Bowl selections, all in one decade, not to mention he was named to the 70s All-Decade team, plus the NFL's 75th and 100th anniversary all-time team. And he starred in the most iconic Super Bowl commercial of all time, 1980's Joe Montana. Joe Montana was a pivotal choice for the 1980s for a variety of reasons. It's always a challenging debate when choosing between an all-time great offensive player and a legendary defensive player, but Montana arguably changed the game more and revolutionized the quarterback position. Montana and the 49ers won an impressive 4 Super Bowl championships during the 1981, 1984, 1988, and 1989 seasons, becoming the next great dynasty after the 1970s Pittsburgh Steelers. Montana was named Super Bowl MVP on 3 occasions. Additionally, he won 2 MVP and Offensive Player of the Year awards, while leading the league in passing yards twice. He earned 6 Pro Bowl, 2 First-Team All-Pro, and 3 Second-Team All-Pro selections in the 80s. 1990s Jerry Rice. If you haven't learned by now, just give your kid a name that starts with J, and he might have a chance at being an all-time NFL player. It's completely unfair that the best player of the 80s got to throw to the best player of the 90s. Jerry Rice has an argument against Jim Brown as the greatest player ever. Despite playing for 3 decades, he was at his prime best in the 90s, catching passes from Steve Young. From 1990 to 1995, he led the league in receiving yards 4 times. But let's be honest, the reason he's in the GOAT realm is the fact he owns 100 still-standing records. He scored more touchdowns than any player ever at 208. He decimated defenses, especially in the 90s, and is still the all-time leading receiver in every category. Rice's legendary moment came in 1994 Super Bowl 28. With a separated shoulder, Rice still caught 10 passes for 149 yards and 3 touchdowns, becoming only the 3rd receiver to win a Super Bowl MVP. In '95, Rice broke the single-season receiving record at 1,148 yards. It stood for nearly 2 more decades, despite the prevalence of the passing game recently. In the 90s alone, Rice amassed 860 receptions, 12,081 yards, and 103 touchdowns. That's video game numbers for one of the greatest careers of all time. 2000s Peyton Manning. In the 2000s, Peyton Manning was the standout player, even though Tom Brady and the Patriots captured 3 Super Bowls during this time. It's crucial to remember that Brady was more of a game manager during the early stages of the Patriots dynasty, which featured a rush-heavy offense and a star-studded defense. In contrast, Manning was the epitome of consistency and dominance as the quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Making the postseason in every year but one from 2000 to 2009, and winning at least 12 games each year from 2003 to 2009, Manning secured his first MVP award in 2003 and set the single-season record for touchdown passes with 49 in 2004. Despite facing tough competition, Manning led the Colts to a Super Bowl XLI championship and won MVP honors for the game. He won 4 MVPs, 1 Offensive Player of the Year award, 2 AFC championships, and 1 Super Bowl, along with 5 first-team All-Pro selections, making him the premier player of the 2000s. 2010's Tom Brady. The 2010s were dominated by Tom Brady. While arguments could be made for Aaron Rodgers or Drew Brees, Brady's achievements in the second half of the decade were unparalleled. Winning the 2010 and 2017 League MVP awards, his Patriots won the AFC division every single year of the 2010s and never won fewer than 11 games in any season. Brady cemented his status as the greatest of all time, GOAT, leading New England to 3 more Super Bowl championships in a 5-year span, 2014, 2016, and 2018, including his historic comeback against the Seattle Seahawks in Super Bowl 49, and a record-setting comeback against the Atlanta Falcons in Super Bowl 51. Brady was named MVP of both Super Bowls and participated in 8 straight AFC championship games, totaling 5 Super Bowl appearances in the decade.